And again, it depends on how creative you want to be with this, right? So we refer to this part as the different show types. So you could actually think of, you can actually, we can actually challenge ourselves with the types of webinars that we're creating. So first of all, starting to call them episodes as opposed to webinars, right? That's step one.
Totally.
But also looking at all the other types of shows that you could create. So it could be some, you could refer to it as like a video podcast show, or it could be a panel discussion where you have multiple people, having that you're having that conversation with. These two are the most common, but it could get a lot more wild and wonderful from there. Number one, you could create reaction video series where you're reacting to some current events or current topics that are happening in your specific B2B industry. People will be interested to see, let's say, I don't know, what Michael Jordan has to say about some recent news in basketball, because of their stature in the place, right? Beyond that, you can also decide to create something like a documentary series or a docu-series where you start off, people may say, how is this different from a podcast? Well, the way a documentary starts in this context is you start the entire series by asking one golden question, and then use maybe a question that's very important to your industry, or a question that's very important to your specific company, perhaps, but ideally something that the audience can relate to, and to really set off on an adventure across different episodes, where every episode you might be meeting with customers, internal team members, prospects, thought leaders, trying to find answers to this question. And at the very end, you come to some sort of a conclusion. This very end, by the way, could only be, let's say, 10 episodes, and then you do a season 2 or something like that. But again, like to use a Netflix example, this question could be like, okay, what is the cause of true happiness, for example? This could be like this big golden question. And then, they go on all of these adventures, have all these conversations, and at the end they come up with an interesting conclusion. One of my favorite examples on that from a B2B perspective comes from Wistia. So Wistia, who's a video hosting platform, so they deal with video and stuff like that. So naturally they made a docu-series called 110-100, where they took one of the questions that people ask them a lot, which is, hey, does it depend, like the budget I have to create video, does that have an impact on the quality of the video in the end in terms of how successful it will be? So they came up with a video idea and they shot it for 1,000, for 10,000, and for 100,000. The same video idea. They shot it for 3 different budgets, and they came up with some very interesting conclusions in the end. And they're a video hosting company, video hosting software. So you see the connection there. So there's a lot of different ways that you can make a webinar series a lot more exciting. It's all about how creative you're willing to go. But the easiest thing you could do is to start calling it a show and start calling them episodes.
Yeah. And I just wanted to I wanted to share with the audience the framework that we use for everything we produce, especially on video. And but before, I just wanted to add also onto those specific ideas on series that we've seen at work. So again, number one, outside the ones that you've highlighted, will be the lessons learned. So if you look at it from the point of view, from a conference or an event point of view, or community, you will have big people, big thinkers, thought leaders that are sharing views, are sharing thoughts, and some of them are extremely useful. So, and especially right now, after what we've been through, it's very important to see what people think from what's happening and what can be learned from, or what are the lessons learned. So when you create a series where you can bring either 1 per episode or 2 per episode of these thought leaders to share what are the lessons learned about ... your industry. There's a way in which you can kind of frame case studies about lessons learned, what you've done and how you're moving forward. There's also about those lessons learned is what is the future of the industry. There's the element of predictions where people would say, okay, to a thought leader, what is your prediction is going to happen within the next 2 years? It's very common right now for us in that working in the events and industries, like everyone saying, okay, what is your prediction? What do you think? How do you think 2021 is going to look like? What do you think actually is going to be 2030? And then that kind of opens up a lot of conversations. You can have series about all that sort of stuff. You can have series about, so if you've got working on a particular topic or in a particular industry, if you look at it, a conference program, you have technology, you have regulations, you have a variety of different themes among the topics that you're covering, either on an event or on a series of events. So then you can serialize that and then focus on and honing in on various of those different aspects. And again, personally, I think predictions, top leaders and everything, everyone always wants to have or hear a top individual, top professional in the industry about it.